Hello friends, I am Chevee. Welcome to my shed. How are you doing today? How's life in your world? How's things where you are? Let me know in the comments. I love hearing from you. I hope you know that. I really do love hearing from you. And I was going to clean this mess up before doing the show, but since I did hear from one of you, I thought we'd talk about it. And last week I said that I was going to make a prop for a upcoming escape room. And that's what I did this weekend. I did other things, obviously. I got to spend some time with the kids. We went to breakfast together on Sunday. I got to go to a soccer game with Keely yesterday, our first game of the season, and watch her make a save on a penalty kick. That was amazing. And I got to... we had an elimination dinner for our soccer team and raised a great amount of money for our soccer team. So I had a very busy weekend. It was good. It was very good. The elimination dinner went super well. Em got to go and hang out all night, and one of my work friends went with her and kept her company because I was working. I was bartending and such. So that was fun. But what I did on Saturday was I got to come down here before the elimination dinner and work on this prop. And yes, I can show it to you. I'm not going to give you all the details about how it's going to ultimately work because I don't have all those details. So I can't necessarily give away the secret. If I could, I wouldn't though, because my kids will probably go do this escape room, and that's not fair. The theme of this escape room is actually locking yourself in the room. You're trying to lock yourself into a bunker because there's some crap going on, and you're on the run, and you find this bunker, and you're trying to figure out how to seal the door. And the bunker that you found was basically some eccentric old man who devised this end game scenario bunker, and but he's not willing to let just anybody have it. You have to kind of prove yourself, and so you have to kind of go through this process to lock the doors. And what I'm making will be the final lock for the doors. And so my friend said, "Can you make this?" I said, "Yeah, absolutely." He came over one day, and like when he walked in, I got to get a prop. He saw this old thing. I don't know if you remember this old thing. If you're a longtime viewer, you'll recognize this. This old thing, which, yeah, it was a little box I made that houses an audio FX card in here. I don't remember who makes it. Adafruit audio FX card, and which allows you to kind of program some sounds. And so I made this, and he was like, "I want that. I want it to look like that." And so the concept was to make a vintage looking box that also looks handmade. It doesn't, it's not a factory case with stuff on it. And I said, sure, I can do that. So what I came up with, basically it was mine to design. Outside of it needed to house 9 switches, and he provided the switches. So there's 9 3-way switches on this thing. And he said, just do whatever you do with the rest. And so what I've come up with is this box, which is poplar, that I stained with some golden pecan, which turned out really nice, actually. You can still kind of see the poplar green through it, but it's muted quite a bit from the stain, so it's a very unique look. It doesn't really look like any wood that I'm familiar with. It doesn't look like pine, which is one of the things that I was super concerned with, because I didn't have enough cherry or walnut or any like expensive hardwoods laying around to make it. And I'm donating this to the library, so I didn't want to spend a bunch of money to go buy nice quality hardwood. So I used this poplar. I resawed some down to a 1/2 inch for these pieces, which gave me an excuse to try the technique. Resawed it on my table saw. It came out perfectly clean. Didn't have any problems because my daughter wants me to make her a box to hold her art supplies, and I'm going to resaw some wood to do that. I had not really done much resawing. A couple glue blocks in the corners because this face plate fits in here. At the moment, it's kind of snug because of the finish. It fits in there something like that, and then there'll be 4 screws holding that in, and then the switches will all come through the front like that. So Nine three-way switches will power this thing, along with some little extras I've wired up here. These serve a completely different function, but this will be in the prop down here at the bottom. So we'll have this little knob guy right here will control this component, and then I've got this little kind of lens thing. It actually is a lens that I cut out of a little toy flashlight I had laying around. So this is the front part of a toy flashlight I had laying around that will receive this LED. So it's a visual feedback component as well. This is a 4-position switch, so it gives you a few different selectable functions. Green LED, power LED, and then I can't tell you what everything else does. This will be an extra component that's in there, and this was really fun to make. What I found, I had this 4-position switch laying around. I found this old radio knob in my stash. This little battery holder. This is actually just a what is this? 2032 battery holder, which is not technically a 2032 battery holder at all. This is actually one of those little like flickering tea lights that I've taken the light assembly out of and the switch out of, and just ran some wires in there. So it was either that or I'd spend like $8 buying a bag of 2032 cell holders online. Some LEDs that I pulled out of, like, this is a HD light out of a computer. This is a different LED, and then the other piece that goes on here that I'm not going to show you does something else. And this was all scavenged. I kind of went around the house. This flashlight was scavenged. I wasn't exactly sure what I was going to do. I knew I wanted to add some extras besides the 9 switches, and I found those pieces and put it all together. Ultimately, this will hang on the wall. It'll be controlled by an Arduino Mega, I think, or maybe just a regular Arduino. The 9 input switches, the 9 input switches, you have to have the combination, and once you get the combination in, you'll lock the door. So it's a bit of a puzzle that I get to craft, and it'll be on display at the public library. That's where this particular escape room will be. This is the 3rd, I think, escape room he's done at the library. And this is the first time I've helped, and it's really fun. And ultimately, I came down here and in just a little bit of time knocked this thing together and was ready to go. And then Sunday I sat down here and kind of wired up the components that I needed to wire up and did some soldering and such. And I loved it. I really like prop making. If I could make my living doing prop making, I would be in heaven. Like, that would be amazing. I love just kind of getting like a free form, do what you do, instruction. Like just make it, and we'll roll with whatever you make. And then I just get to kind of play around, cutting flashlights apart and finding random bits to stick on things. Had a blast. Really good time. So. No, I did not film it. I'm not going to film small projects like this because I just needed to get it done. And there's a couple more coming up that I probably will not film unless I can figure out a way to film with just some GoPros positioned around, which is still on my list of things I need to do. So that's what I have for you today. Since somebody asked to see it, there it is. Thank you for being here as always. Thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, being amazing friends, being wonderful people. I appreciate you, and I'll see you tomorrow.
Hey, Doc, wait! I want to ask you something.
Today's random fact comes from quest.nasa.gov. How hot does it get on Mars? The temperatures on Mars may reach a high of about 70 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 20 degrees Celsius, at noon. At the equator in the summer, or a low of about negative 225 Fahrenheit, which is a negative 153 Celsius at the poles.